All right, the in-game survey regarding the flea market, the results were just published today, and I'm going to go over them real quick. All right, number one, the first question was, do you think that Tarkov gameplay was more engaging with the flea market closed? 48% of people said yes. 31% said no, and 19% said not sure. So pretty much split right down the middle. I do think that this question could have been a little more specific. I feel like some of the people who said yes were saying yes to the flea market being closed permanently, and some people who said yes were saying yes to the flea market being closed for a certain amount of time at the beginning of wipe. So this question could have been worded more specifically and had maybe there's another question asking the opposite end. But whatever, I still think it gives a pretty good idea. Where the Tarkov community is on the fence about this, on whether they like these flea market restrictions, and I think that that's going to be a really big challenge for BSG to balance out. But we'll see how they do that in the future. Number two, this question was, what were the major challenges you encountered because of the flea market being closed? So at the top spot, 26% of people said they had a lot of difficulty purchasing keys. This definitely tracks. I had a lot of trouble finding keys, and towards when it was 2 or 3 days until the flea market opened, I just waited. I didn't even want to deal with it anymore. I just waited until flea market opened up. I'm sure a bunch of other people did that, so I think that they can solve this problem they don't have to open up the flea market at the beginning of wipe. They can just add these keys required for early wipe quests to traders, to early level traders, whatever. Increase the spawn rates in game, something like that. I don't know why. I feel like BSG made this change without actually doing all the other changes that were needed to support it. So that's why there was so much backlash. And then we can see this also in 20% of people said that they had difficulty with the Found and Raid hideout upgrades. I have to agree and disagree at the same time. As a premise, I think that requiring certain items to be found in raid for the hideout is engaging. It's entertaining. It makes these small items worthwhile. However, I think that on a larger scale with how the hideout works, there needs to be some changes if they're going to function under this system. Mainly, any item that is logically reusable should be reusable. A power drill, a tool set, a wrench, something like that. That should be reusable. You might not be able to use it while that upgrade is going on, but you should get it back after the upgrade is complete. That would solve a lot of the problems with people in these found and raid hideout changes, because a lot of people were complaining about drills, wrenches, and tool sets. So if you change that and just allow people to have one or two, or maybe there's a certain amount of uses on those items, something like that. And I think that that would really help a lot of the problems that people were facing and a lot of the frustrations. 11% of people said that they had difficulty getting equipment items. And I didn't get to set up during the flea market ban because I just wasn't playing as much, but I can definitely see how trying to get a scav vest and a Ushanka being pretty much impossible, just being incredibly frustrating. Gameplay-wise, there's no reason that Ragman shouldn't just have a scav vest and a Ushanka at level 1 or 2, maybe. I think it's gatekeeping for no reason. There's no logical reason that this should be this difficult to get. It's a hat and a shitty vest. Come on. But like I said, we don't need to open up the flea market at the beginning of a wipe to solve these problems. Just add the items to traders, and boom, your problem is solved. There's a couple other challenges that people encountered. I'm going to kind of gloss over or skip them entirely because I feel like a couple of them overlap with not being able to complete quests. That was one of them, and I feel like that's just because people couldn't get keys. And there's a couple others, but I feel like they're not as relevant, so I'm just going to move on to the third question. All right, number 3. What changes would you have made to the flea market system? So 29% of people said that they were satisfied with the current system. This was really surprising to me because if you go into any comment section that was discussing this, I guarantee you 29% of people weren't saying that they were satisfied with the current system. So this is a big reason why these surveys are really important, because it gives a much more accurate depiction of what the community wants to the devs as opposed to just streamers and comment sections. 18% they said they wanted only found and raid items brought back to the flea market. So that's a group of people, a pretty significant group of people who wants more restrictions lifted onto the, or put it onto the flea market. And 16% of people said that they wanted to remove all restrictions from the flea market. This is another kind of crazy stat to me. That means that 45% of the player base doesn't want anything to happen to the flea market, or they want more restrictions to be lifted. That was a little nuts to me. So this is, like I said, this is really important for gauging the actual community's opinion, because I don't think 16% of people in those discussions on Twitter and YouTube were saying that they wanted everything removed from the flea market in terms of restrictions. And at 12%, we had time windows for the flea market. So this is something that I thought would be higher on the list because of what I saw in these comment sections. But from the survey, it kind of points out that not a huge portion of the player base wants the timed windows for the flea market. And this is all very interesting, and I want to give a round of applause to BSG for doing this. Not only for just this and doing the survey and then publishing the results and kind of breaking them down for us, but also just their general communication these past few months. I think that Tarkov and BSG has really stepped it up in terms of community communication. So I'm really happy about that, and I think that they're doing really good. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Like, subscribe, do the things, please. That'd be cool. And have a good day. Bye-bye.